Joining us now from Washington, Andrew Arthur is a resident fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies. He is a former immigration judge. He knows what this is all about. So, Judge, did I set it up in any way that is erroneous, or did I leave anything out that's important?
No, you made some very critical points. President Trump was willing to use the diplomatic power of the United States in order to force the Mexican government to control their own southern border. That's really the only way that you're going to control our southern border is by stopping those migrants from Central America, South America, and now all around the world from coming to the United States. And that is a key failure and error of the Biden administration.
The Biden administration announced last week a number of different things, quotas on Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, Haiti, all of this, to show the American people that they were at least engaged in this problem. Did anything Biden did last week, is anything going to come of that to de-infantilize the problem?
No, in fact, it's going to make everything worse. President Biden announced that he's going to make 360,000 slots available. He doesn't have the power to do it, but he's going to parole 360,000 people from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, and Cuba into the United States. And most remarkably, Bill, he's going to set up a process by which migrants can phone ahead for interviews at the ports of entry. These are migrants who don't have any right to be in the United States, where they can be interviewed and then released into the United States. I guess his idea is that there is some set number of people who are going to enter the United States illegally. We know 2.2 million were apprehended last year, entering illegally, on top of 600,000 who just came right in and didn't get caught. But yeah, so all of those people who, don't get those opportunities to come to the United States, who, don't want to show up for their interviews, they're just going to continue to enter illegally. And until President Biden actually enforces the law that Congress has written, and that means by detaining aliens, by prosecuting aliens for entering illegally, or by doing what President Trump did and sending aliens back to Mexico to await their asylum hearings, nothing's going to change, and this is only going to make things worse.
That was the Remain in Mexico policy. Now, for the last 2 years, people and the cartels take money to transport people here. They tell them when you get to the United States on their soil, you want asylum. And then the Biden administration was just releasing them, just basically saying, yeah, show up in 5 years when your hearing will be set, because they have such a backlog, and you can go wherever you want. But the law says that you can't apply for asylum in the middle of the Arizona desert. You have to go to one of the ports of entry. But Biden didn't enforce that, correct?
Yeah, and what the law actually provides for is if you get apprehended entering illegally, you can ask for asylum, but you're also supposed to be detained. And in fact, it's that lack of detention, Bill, that has created this crisis. Remember, President Biden in his FY 2023 budget actually asked Congress to cut the number of detention beds he has available. He only wanted 25,000. The one good thing, if anything good came out of the omnibus, was Congress said, no, we're going to leave that at 34,000 beds. But, funneling migrants through the ports, funneling them across the border illegally, all of this is in violation of the law. And it is those violations of the law that has created this crisis and that aids and abets the cartels you're talking about. The cartels will send over large groups of migrants, knowing that the Border Patrol is going to have to rush over, flood the area with resources, send in buses. That creates corridors that the cartels can use to then ship that fentanyl into the United States. Bill, 107,000 Americans overdosed on fentanyl last year.
More than that, Judge. More than that, because a lot of those fentanyl deaths aren't categorized that way in the local areas. But the diversion tactic is, as you just pointed out, send a few hundred migrants into one place. Border Patrol has to come in and regulate them, and then leave the other parts empty so the cartels can bring in the narcotics. But it doesn't seem to me that Joe Biden really cares about this issue at all. And I think that's apparent. I don't think anybody could make an argument that Biden cares about this. So then the key question, Judge, becomes, why does he not care?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of different thoughts on that. One, we know that most Americans don't really know how bad the problem is. In a recent Harvard-Harris poll, 87% of Americans, underestimated the number of migrants who were entering illegally per year. In fact, 57% of them weren't even close. They were, wrong by at least half. Two, Democrats really don't care about this issue. In polling, we know that immigration, illegal immigration of the border, are an issue that polls, it's the bottom of concerns for Democrats.
Why? Why don't they, with the astronomical amount of money being spent on the migrants themselves, not only on dental and health, but you've got to pay for where they go, okay, how to get there. Then when they're there, the education, they have to be, transported. They have to be put up places. It gets into the hundreds of billions of dollars after a while, and Democrats don't care about that?
No. In fact, my colleague, Mark Krikorian at the Center for Immigration Studies has, very persuasively argued that, progressives, liberals, Democrats believe that the immigration laws of the United States are akin to Jim Crow, to the discriminatory laws in the United States, throughout the 50s that ended in the early 60s, and that preventing, Bill O'Reilly from Massachusetts or allowing Bill O'Reilly to live and work in the United States, but not allowing a similar person from San Pedro Sula, Honduras to live and work in the United States is just not fair.
Right.
And for that reason, the Biden administration refuses to enforce the laws because they just don't think they're fair.
All right, Judge. Well, just a curious question from me. When you were an immigration judge, who was the president?
I served under both George W. Bush and Barack Obama.
Was there any anomaly in either of those administrations that you had to deal with as a jurist?
No, actually. And for what it's worth, if President Biden would simply do what President Obama did at the border, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today, which just makes it all the more puzzling.
All right, Judge, we really appreciate it. Thanks very much. And I hope we can talk again soon.